We're talking about regrouping. It's like the new year. We're starting 2024, and I wanted to share a little bit about some of the reflection that we've done. And we've already talked about this stuff in the past, but I think I really wanted us to hit it harder and to make it more of an official announcement about the show we're trying to create.
Welcome to Screw the Stock Market. On this show, we discuss a variety of alternative asset classes, tools to help you unleash your money, a success mindset, and inspiration to see what's possible when we do things differently.
Hi there. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. We work really hard to create a lot of content that is educational and informative. And we also want to be the best listeners out there. We want to understand what you are interested in, what kind of investor you are, what your objectives are. And so we've created a survey at screwthestockmarket.com/survey. And there you'll be able to take the quick survey and we'll be in listening, and that'll help us be able to create better content and we can engage more about how we can help you achieve your goals. So again, screwthestockmarket.com/survey. Hi everyone, welcome to Screw the Stock Market. Aziz, you're getting blurry. Oh, now you're in focus. Now you're blurry. Now you're focused. All right.
My camera hates me.
I think it's just prejudiced. Technology is prejudiced.
I've read about that, actually. You know what? The first time I've experienced that was in Disney World, actually, of all places. I went on the Space Mountain ride, and apparently there's a camera in there that takes a picture of you while you're on the ride. And it was me and like some of our other friends who are lighter complected. And it took crisp photos of all of them. And for me, I was a shadow, literally a shadow. All you saw was teeth and just blackness. Looked like the Cheshire Cat from like Alice in Wonderland, where you just see the floating teeth.
Yeah, it's no good. I had one where there was it would estimate your age. You remember that?
I remember that.
And you take a picture of yourself, and it's based on this, we predict your age to be this. And I can't remember the number, but it was like way older. And at that point, I felt like I was looking younger than my real age. But technology thought that I looked way older.
Didn't say you were like 75 or something?
It was up there. It was like, I think it was outside the 40s. And I was like in my low 30s. And in my low 30s, I think I looked like I was in my 20s. But whatever. I'm not vain. Yes, I am. I'm vain. But it's okay. We're doing a timeout episode. We're talking about our show today. We're talking about regrouping. It's like the new year. We're starting 2024. And I wanted to share a little bit about some of the reflection that we've done. And we've already talked about this stuff in the past, but I think I really wanted us to hit it harder and to make it more of an official announcement about the show we're trying to create with this. And it's been a work in progress. We've been at this like year and a half, almost 2 years now, maybe more than 2 years. And it's been awesome. We've learned a lot. We've made connections with people who are doing amazing things. But why make a change at this point? I think for both you and me, it's a work in progress always, right? We're constantly adjusting and trying to create the content that will be as helpful as possible to the people that watch and to ourselves too, right? We're learning a ton. One of the things that we decided was that we want to hit the nail on the head and more openly announce who the show is for. And essentially, it's like for you and me and people like us. So one of the things that we've honed in on, and I think for you and me, it's a big part of our friendship early on, especially, was this shared experience as the children of immigrants, as people who are in these two worlds, as people who you're able to operate in the world of Somali Arab culture and here in the US. And so am I, right? Like we're in these like daywalkers. It's a little bit of a superpower. And
you and your blade analogies.
There's another one, right, for our generation of daywalkers. But so what we've decided is that we want to continue with the same show. And if you happen to not be an immigrant, that's cool. We still want you to tune in. We still want you to get value from it. But we also do just want to continue to hit the nail on the head a little bit more about who we're talking to. Because there is this shared experience. And we just want to make it more like overt of, hey, if this is, you might want to tune into this show because we have a shared experience and we have a shared perspective on investing in business that's a result of where we come from. And so the minor change that's going to happen is we're going to add a subtitle to the show, where now, before it was just screw the stock market, and we still believe that, we still want to explore that whole alternative asset thing, but we're adding the subtitle of an immigrant's guide to entrepreneurial investing. And that's the new subtitle to the show, to just call it out a little bit more clearly. And you'll see some changes in the content that we produce. We're going to hit it a little bit harder and talk about this shared experience, talk about that perspective a little bit more, because it's fundamental. I don't know. I think for me, one of the funny things was when I realized, and I looked around at my circle of friends, and it's not really people that are Central American or Hispanic. I have a lot of friends who are like that, but I felt almost like they're from a different culture than people like Aziz and me. I felt like we had a culture, which I thought was a funny realization. Whereas, the people who I feel most shared culture with is people who have this immigrant, kind of children of immigrant, dual cultural upbringing. And I don't know, Aziz, what do you think about this whole thing?
No, I agree. There's a lot of us out there. Pretty much all of our friends fit in that category. We're all just first generation kids growing up with immigrant parents, trying to navigate this world of understanding our roots and our culture, and then also adapting to our, regular upbringing in the U.S. as Americans, which is hard. Then also navigating this whole financial world with two different perspectives. I have a father who believes that you should put everything under your mattress and just let it stay there, collecting dust because you can't trust the bank. To go from that into this ideology where you can make your money work for you, you can do more than just save, you can actually grow and you can make moves, you can create all sorts of businesses and things like that. And there's risks, but it's no bigger of a risk than when you came here and started all over again. So it varies. And then that story is also different for every group of people and every family. I know some people that come and they immediately have this huge entrepreneurial spirit. I think, like our Korean friends, for example, I think all of their parents are entrepreneurs. They all started, whether it's restaurants or beauty salons or some sort of entrepreneurial small business. That's how they got started. And it's just each community has its own different story and culture. I think the most entrepreneurship one is like our South Indian or South Asian, Indian, and Pakistani friends. All of them are very business minded in terms of their families. I feel like a lot of them, which has been inspirational as well. So that's another thing. You can pull different ideas and concepts from each other and from our different communities to build something bigger and better together.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting too when you talk about like different experiences, because for me, when I think of an immigrant, I think my situation at home is bad economically. And so I'm going to make a sacrifice to have a brighter future by coming to the US. And we were talking about this recently, where one of our close friends, her father was actually well to do in India, and he chose to leave all that behind in a place where he had probably maids and kind of staff to be able to help deal with those day-to-day things, and to walk away from all of that and start here with nothing was a contradiction to me. That's like my stereotype of what the immigrant story is. Oh, I have a lifetime of hardship ahead unless I make a sacrifice and go for this better life. But it is different for everyone. And I think our analysis for that one was that this person wanted to make a name for themselves and be able to show, I don't just want to rely on what my parents had given me. I want to be able to show that I could do this on my own, which is a totally valid and admirable thing. And they totally did it.
And it could be other. For example, my family, we were in Saudi Arabia for that's where I was born, and we're doing well. We're doing very well while we were there. But my father saw that in terms of the way that we would be viewed, particularly me and my brother, we would still be seen as second class citizens, regardless of how successful our family was and whatnot. So there would still be certain opportunities and things that we would never have access to. Education, for example, would be one of those things. Like at a certain point, we'd be blocked out of the public education system, and the only option would be private school. And employment would also be more difficult for younger generations as they got older. Because again, there is a level of discrimination in someone, especially when you are someone who's not Saudi. So as a result of that, the only other option was to move here and seek a place where you can actually get access to better opportunities.
Yeah. And so, anyways, I think for me, I think that that variety of experiences and actual tangible stories. I remember your dad telling me about like his first few days. And it was funny because he was trying to convince me at the time. I had been married for several years. He's like, you should have kids now. It doesn't matter how where you are financially. And he told me all these stories about the sacrifices they made with you guys. He's like, look, you just figure it out, you make it work. And I think he was talking about how he would drive the bus and he would take you with him in that first job that he had. And he was like, yeah, you just make it, you make ends meet and blah blah blah. And I just remember at the end of that, I was like, oh, I don't think I'm ready to have. It just solidified my desire to like wait until I'm financially ready to have kids. But he was trying to convince me, you just have them, you'll figure it out, it's okay. But
Suffering is fine.
yeah, he
It's
turned out
normal.
okay.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
But no, I think it's really interesting. I think that's some more of the stuff we're going to start to talk about too, is just a little bit more of how everyone's experience is different and finding your way when you first get here. I don't want to use the word trauma, but there is a little bit of trauma, right? It's a shock to come to a new place. And for us as kids, maybe less so than for them as adults, but it's still something that I think is handed down to the next generation. And so
Oh,
it's the kind of
1000%.
stuff, yeah. And so
Yeah.
it's something that we're going to be talking about more on the show.
Yeah. And I like that terminology of trauma because I'll definitely admit it. My parents are definitely traumatized ever since they came here. They've never fully adapted. It's just very difficult for them living here. And in turn, that makes it difficult for us as their children because we want to see our parents happy and trying to navigate between helping them achieve their happiness and then at the same time navigate your own personal happiness, which doesn't coincide with their views because they had a completely different upbringing. It's difficult. It's challenging.
Yeah. And so I don't know. It just it's been cool because as we've been talking about this stuff ourselves a little bit more in kind of this planning phase, I'm seeing a lot more of it come up. And it's that bias that comes when you start looking for something, you start to see it more frequently. And so I'm seeing it more in media, right? Like the other day I saw the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once or whatever, the movie from last year, and I was like, oh, this is an immigrant story too. Boom. And just making notes of all these little clips of scenes about the different generations and the parents and all exactly this kind of stuff keeps coming up. And so it's just cool because I know it's there and I know it's something that people it's really personal. I'm excited to share that and to start to cover more of these topics a little bit more directly. It's still an investment show, but again, the point is that this is a little bit more about the angle that we're taking as we explore investments, and so we're trying to hit that a little bit um, more clearly and more on the nose. We're
Yeah.
excited for it, and just stay tuned for a little bit of a shift in the type of content we're creating, and hopefully it'll resonate more.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll still be talking about money and building wealth, but with the perspective of how to do it from an immigrant's viewpoint.
Absolutely. So, as always, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for being part of this. And we always want to hear more about what you want to hear, what you're curious about. There's a bunch of different things that we're planning for this year, and we're just excited for it. So, thank you and stay tuned.